I'm just telling you what I saw.
Daddy's ghost. My dead wife is not haunting this house.
What is this?
Put them back!
This is not real.
Oddity is a new horror film that dropped this weekend, and it's directed by Damian McCarthy, and this is a movie that is a Shudder original film that was getting a limited release, so I wasn't super excited about it because sometimes Shudder original films can be fantastic, new concepts, oh my god, never thought of this before, horror movies, and sometimes they can just fall flat on their face. In fact, we've had one in each of those categories from Shudder movies already this year, so getting into this movie, I wasn't super hyped, I wasn't super excited, but I am so glad that I stopped and took the time to check out Oddity in theaters because, oh my god, I had a blast with this film. But let's get into the synopsis of this movie. The movie starts with a woman whose sister has been murdered, and this woman is blind and a psychic, and so she uses her psychic abilities and cursed objects to go after the people she believed murdered her sister. Now, if that doesn't sound like the most convincing plot to get you in the theater, I could completely understand that because it wasn't a very convincing plot to me. It just kind of seemed like somebody had a run-of-the-mill horror idea and they're like, all right, let's use these objects to go after them. But there's so many more layers in this film. I'm telling you, twists and turns along the way, just holding on to you from the opening scene till the very end of this film. There wasn't a moment where I wasn't glued to this thing. With that said, let's get into my positives and some of my negatives. First positive I have for this movie is how intriguing the plot is and how it twists and turns along the way to keep you guessing, keep you at the edge of your seat, and also keep you invested throughout the duration of the film. Because this is a lower budget movie, and you can tell some places where it's not too polished up, and we'll get to some negatives I have in a little while, but this movie, the story, the plot, the idea of this murder, this brutal murder that happens in the opening scene, and then you kind of learning about exactly what happened throughout this movie while you're also trying to solve the murder with the grieving sister. I really liked that because it set something up where you were now invested. You were with the woman before she was murdered in this house that she was just trying to set up for her and her husband. She stayed there overnight, and then something tragic happens, and now there's a murder mystery on top of some really spooky, creepy stuff that's happening, and it just, like I said, it stays intriguing the whole time. Like, I got through the halfway point of this movie and I was still fully invested. I got to the last act of this movie when all the crazy shenanigans start to happen, and I was still fully invested down to the last frame of this film. And I think that that is rare for most movies, especially horror, because typically by the third act it's just, okay, bananas, throw everything at the wall. And this movie does do some of that, but I loved how it kept me captivated till the last frame of the film. That leads me to my next positive, which is the extremely creepy atmosphere and the different things they used throughout this movie to keep that creepy atmosphere. So again, it opens on sort of a breaking and entering theme. I don't want to go into details on that because it's not necessarily what it is, but it opens on sort of that sort of theme. So you already have this sense of like dread, and you're just creeped out. You're creeped out because is there somebody in her house? Is there not? Is someone at the front door? Are they not? And it's just kind of creepy for her. But then when the tragedy strikes, you're like, okay, where are they going to take this from here? Then they introduce a supernatural element that feels right. It feels like an element that needs to be in this film. And the way they use the supernatural element is done so damn well. I mean that, and it keeps the creepy element going because they are able to use things like dark shadows in different corners of the house to keep that creepy atmosphere going. You'll be watching this person on screen, but because you have that creepy atmosphere going, you're also focusing or trying to focus your best on different things going on in the background because who knows what's lurking in this house now? And they find a way to just keep that tense, creepy atmosphere going by using things like shadows, dark corners, or even the sound design where little things creak. And you're like, is it just an old house or is there something more nefarious going on here? And don't get me started on that creepy ass doll. If you know anything about this movie, you know there's a big ass wooden doll. And I was worried that this was going to be another possessed doll movie. that's not really the route that they go. I'm not going to reveal anything. My point is that I loved how they used that thing and how it just kept the creepiness or the creepy atmosphere going throughout the film. And that leads me to my final positive, and that is well-placed jump scares. Listen, I am not a jump scare a minute kind of person. I love the slow burn horror movies. It's something that I've had to sort of learn to love at first, and now I just can't get enough of them. But I love those slow burn horror movies where there's nothing jumping out at you. It's just kind of creepy throughout. But I love even more when a well-placed jump scare is used, and they're done several times throughout this movie. They are so well placed, so well timed. There's two in particular I'm thinking of. I'm not going to spoil either one of them here, but two I'm thinking of that were just fantastic, and I can't recommend enough go into this thing as blind as possible. Don't learn anything about this film and just enjoy the ride, because there will be some great jump scares along the way. Now, before I get into my negatives, guys, I'm not Jesus. I know this light keeps popping through here, but it's really just this window that's reflecting on that wall. Sorry if I just blinded you guys, but I am trying to cover it up. I'm in a hotel room. Bear with me till I'm back in my movie room. With that said, let's get into my negatives, and I really only have one for this film, and that is that the very low budget really shows in that final scene where they're kind of throwing everything at the wall. And unfortunately, this is what happens to a lot of low-budget horror movies. They're able to hide a lot of stuff with darkness, with shadows. I thought this movie used that to its advantage to keep the creepy atmosphere going, like we talked about a second ago. But when it comes down to you finally need to see something from this monstrous thing that's happening, it gets pretty low budget, and I don't know, it just didn't work for me. And really, it's the only thing in the film that didn't work for me, because I loved the plot. I thought the acting was decent. I thought throughout the film they kept this creepy atmosphere going that just worked. And I know I've said that 100 times now, but I'm gonna keep saying it because I'm still thinking about this movie 3 days later. And so while I loved so much about it, when you get to that final act, it's like they started to run out of money. And so this creepy, supernatural, horrifying thing just looks pretty fake. And that was unfortunate. A little more money put into that, and I feel like it would have looked a lot cleaner and a lot better. But that's really my only negative, and that's not even the final scene of the film. They move on past that. So after that scene in the film, it gets right back into that tense, creepy, what are they gonna do, intriguing atmosphere and story that they've been building the whole time. So really, I just have one negative for this film. It did stand out, but overall, I had a really enjoyable time with this movie. It's one that I highly recommend to all of you. If you're a big horror fan, see this one in theaters. You will not be disappointed. I know it's a limited release, so I don't know how much longer it's gonna be playing in theaters, but that means that it'll be on the Shudder app that much sooner. I can't wait to rewatch this one. I can't wait to show this one to my wife, and it's a movie that we picked Twisters this past weekend to go see together, and neither of us, we were just both like, all right, it was kind of fine. And I wish we had seen Oddity together, because I think this would have been great for her too. So I am looking forward to getting to watch this with her at some point in the future, if not in the theater, on Shudder. And that's where I would highly recommend you check this out, because I think it works in both places. I do think it would work in the theater if you're a big horror fan, the different jump scares and the sounds they use. But if you have a good surround system at home, I think you'll enjoy it at your house as well. Check out Oddity. You will not be disappointed. But those are just my opinions, because that's my review for Oddity. Guys, if you had a chance to see this movie yet, if you have, let me know in the comment section down below. We can even talk spoilers in the comment section. So if you've seen this movie and you want to talk about some of those spoilery things that I really didn't want to get into, let's talk about them down there. And finally, guys, if you like this video and you want to watch more, don't forget to hit that like button, because it helps the video, it helps the channel, and it helps me right here. Thanks for watching. I'll be back in my movie room soon. I'll see you next time.
Holy crap! You are creepy as shit.
All right, guys, we got to the end of my Oddity movie review, and I just had a blast with this. And it's crazy that of all the movies I've seen this year, this one has really stuck with me the last couple days. Like, this is a movie that has come into my mind just randomly. Like, do you remember that? Do you remember that creepy moment? And it's just awesome. I love when I can really enjoy a film and then I get to talk about it with so much energy and enthusiasm, because I really have that energy and enthusiasm for this movie. I can't wait to watch it again. With that said, if you want to check out any of the other content on my channel, well, I've got all of my horror movie reviews right there, and I've got all of my 2024 movie reviews right there.